up, guys? It's back with Chalk and Squawk. How's it going? Today we're talking, I think, about technology in the classroom and AI.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Bird is a winner. Well, a bird.
Super exciting stuff. Who wants to start us off? Can I just sit here the whole time?
Sure, good, yeah.
Sure. Read the remote.
Why?
Because we
That's
pass
a
it.
talking piece.
It could be my water bottle.
I don't want to touch
Oh.
where you're
Okay, wait, fine.
Still sip.
Unopened can of iced tea.
About to be opened.
Okay, remote.
So, I do see a lack of fine motor skill development that I do think, and a lot of experts would agree, is from the lack of coloring at home and the use of technology. Well, I do think it depends family to family as well. I'm not saying all kids are lacking in these departments, but I will say the children who do spend their time outside of daycare or school on the iPads tend to have less motor skill, less developed fine motor skills.
You think technology?
Yeah.
Do you think you go?
No, I mean, I think it's something similar we might say, but I hear what you're saying. I do agree with her saying there is a noticeable difference between their fine motor skills maybe in today's world comparatively to 10, 15 years ago. But I'll be honest, that has nothing to do with technology. That's more of a parental issue. And that's why
I mean, we're talking about technology in the classroom, right?
Sorry,
No,
I went on a big
little bit
tangent.
different, but what you said.
These are good
Yeah.
points, don't get me wrong, but I do think at least that's maybe not be a devil's advocate, but that does speak to the fact that we should have technology in the classroom so that they could know that these limits and the parameters. In terms of fine motor skills and stuff like that, that is an issue that does arise. That is still a technological, what's it called? Not faceted. That is an issue that is brought up by the use of technology, even though it's not. It's like a bad servant, good servant, bad master, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it does have its issues. Don't get me wrong. But that's why I do think we try to correct those issues using certain things. I mean, on iPads there are pencils and stuff like that that could be used to change their path and alter their skills in that way. Where are you about to say, Makai?
I forgot, but off of what you just said, I think realistically, in the way that the world is going.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is used in a way that it's everything is going to be presented to them through technology. Most places outside of school, you're not even going to see books, textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
If you're filling out paperwork or stuff, all of that, even at a doctor's office, most of that's online now. That's not even you're not writing you're not using a pencil and writing everything out. You're filling out everything on a form online and ahead of time. So I think that you had said something that made me think of this in the first place, but I forgot what it was. So, someone else go.
Let's move on.
I think it's just it's a fine line between learning how to use technology in order for it to be an aid and abusing technology. I think from everything that I've never been in a classroom for longer than a day or two, so my experience is from just bouncing around from classroom to classroom and seeing what different teachers do. But for the past 2 summers that I've been subbing, the only things I've really been seeing is technology abuse with these kids because they're smart to figure out how to do things that they shouldn't be doing, and then what the technology does aid for, they have no interest in that because to them they're seeing another way to entertain themselves in the way that they want without being caught, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I mean, yes, the world is going in a way where technology is going to be used, but it's also a thing of AI is becoming really prevalent in our society. I don't think it means that we should teach them to be dependent on AI. Again, use teach them how to use it as, I don't even know, I don't like AI in general, period, and that's just my own Hannah hot take. But you can use them how to use it as a tool, but again, it's a slippery slope of how much technology we integrate into our society and where that's going, because people are abusing AI and bad things are happening not only to our environment because of that, but also people aren't thinking for themselves.
I have a little classroom anecdote to use. So, for one, my favorite use of AI that I think is beneficial is if I'm learning about a topic, researching a topic, I will like ask ChatGPT to give me an overview of everything, and then you don't use that as evidence in your maybe paper for anything like that, but you use it to, okay, now I have an understanding of what I'm learning about. Now I can go straight to the sources and understand what I'm reading better. So that kind of brings me to my classroom the other day. My teacher gives his students like 3 different resources to use, like Britannica, things like that they're allowed to research on, but says they can't just Google search themselves because they can't use the AI overview. And then he didn't really explain why he thinks it's bad to use the AI overview. He said, obviously I understand why you maybe can't use it in your as evidence of any sort because it's not directly from a source, but I was wondering what you guys think of that, of like, should they be limited to these sources that the teacher is giving them and that they have to go straight from these sources, or should Google searching like that be encouraged because it's a resource they're always going to have anyway?
I think learning how to find reliable resources is part of that conversation. Then what grade are you in again?
Right now I'm in 4th.
Okay. I mean that's around the time that we started learning about how to like Google and find a reliable resource. So like activities I remember from elementary school at least have always been like, oh, you have to find 3 reliable sources, like find something from a .net, a .org, don't use Wikipedia, like things like that.
I think also, sorry to interrupt, I think the Google AI overview can be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
I remember, like, for example, earlier this school year, I was trying to figure out if I could put my air fryer on a wooden shelf. And I don't have a lot of counter space in my apartment. So I was down bad trying to figure it out. And Google Overview said yes. And I was like, I don't know about that. As it turns out, you should not do that. And, like, that's just, like, another example of, like, it can just, like, because if different sources are saying different things, they're going to pick one or the other. So I think that's where you have to do good research. And also, I will say, looking through an encyclopedia, whether it be online or physical, does give you a decent amount of practice in terms of procedural research, I guess you could call it, where it's like, okay, like or like in a dictionary, for example, like I want to look up the word volleyball. Okay, it starts with V, next letter is O, and this is how I'm going to find it, and it's pattern recognition. It's, just kind of like procedural sort of like practice, which is always good because even though to some people it seems easy, like for myself, procedural knowledge, procedural based tasks are something I've always excelled in, but not everyone's like that. And so I think it's something that's really good to practice and, take time to find because, again, Google AI overview isn't always the most reliable or it might not be available. And again, like, not even getting into the nuances of, like, whether AI is, like, ethical or not, like, if it is eventually deemed unethical and is taken away, what are you going to do?
I think a similar conversation, like pre-AI that used to be had, is like when I was in 7th grade, I'd say, if we have calculators, why do we have to learn how to do multiplication? If we have calculators, why do I have to learn how to do division?
Exactly.
This use of AI is taking away the problem solving skills that I think the kids naturally develop through learning these things, such as using an encyclopedia.
That's the thing, we're trying to find
proper research.
Not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
So we're like trying to find shortcuts to everything, and a lot of kids I feel like are falling through the pitfalls like that because then once these resources are taken away from them, I mean, like, God forbid they go through all of elementary, middle, high school, like relying on AI, X, Y, and Z, never get caught. You go to college, you get caught in a paper with it, and then what happens. Or like even with a job, you use AI to apply for something, X, Y, and Z. It's like,
yeah. And I do think, to Brady's point, you can use it as a tool. Like, for me, like, sometimes, like, I get assigned to read, like, very heavy academic text with very heavy like academic language that I'm just like, I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, I can't read this. Like, it's just so visually overwhelming. And I found it to be helpful to like copy and paste it into AI. And I myself will admit, like, I'm still just trying to figure out myself, like, the whole how I feel personally about AI. Because, you know, some, like, at one point I was like, oh my god, this freaks me out. And then I was like, okay, I can use it as a tool. And I'm trying to, like, you know, develop my own opinion still. It's still developing. I'm not going to go one way or another. I do see both sides of that debate. But I will say that has definitely been helpful because, like, you know, obviously I'm in college now. I have reading comprehension skills. I graduated high school. But
you have the capability to understand how to use it as a tool.
Yeah, I have the capability to understand how to use it as a tool. When you're teaching it as like okay, so in order to find the definition of this word, just put it into ChatGPT, that is just the shortcut, and that's taking away the journey of the learning when you're taking, even though it's longer, you're getting more valuable information, more valuable understanding, the comprehensions more thorough, rather than like the AI is just like, you know, super short and like it's easy, but like you're losing a lot of that learning.
Yeah, it's just so hard knowing that they're always going to have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just hide it from them. They're gonna find out by themselves.
Yeah.
I know you have some opinions on that. You look like you're about to talk.
Yes, I am.
He's been silent for a while.
The whole thing with AI is, as a teacher, if you're gonna hold it up to this like standard and treat it as like this taboo idea that you can't, students are gonna use it no matter what. Especially once you get into middle school and into high school, they already know what it is. They're already using it for other things. So finding a way to teach them how to use it correctly and ethically is a better way to go about it than to just say you can't use it at all, because they're going to use it. You know they're going to use it, and it's not really anything you can do about it because you're not going to be with them 24/7 while they're doing homework, while they're doing other assignments. And by saying you can't do this or do that, people just want to do it more. That's just human nature, is to go against what they're told to do most of the time. So it is a hard way, it's a hard spot to be in as a teacher, especially now, because yes, there is AI checkers, but there is no, there's been research and studies done that is, AI checkers are never 100% accurate. There is no way to technically prove something is fully AI past the human eye, because it's pulling information from somewhere. It's not just, AI doesn't create new, like,
It doesn't make sense.
word. Yeah, it's not necessarily making stuff up. It's pulling information from somewhere else or another source.
Yeah.
So now the information is not always true, because it's going to mix information from different sources. So one thing might be true, but the thing right under it could be completely wrong and make no sense at all. But it's pulling it from somewhere. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you could hide it from the kids and like treat it as the taboo idea, as you say, but you just explain the issues with that. But you could also try and sit them down and be like, this is affecting your learning. Your brain's not going to grow properly. You're not going to learn in the ways you're supposed to if you use this. You could tell them that. But I know me as a kid, I would have been like, I wouldn't have cared.
No.
So I think it's just so hard on where you draw the line, how you go about handling this, knowing they're always going to have it as a resource, but it's so much power having that AI that if you introduce it to them and if they know what they can do with it, it's literally limitless potential on what you can use it for.
But it also very
And I don't think there's a clear-cut answer. Sorry.
I don't know, for me, I sound like such an old, like, anti-technology grandma now when it comes to AI, but obviously I have very strong opinions. I don't know, for me, I think it's like the more that we introduce it into the classrooms and into school, the more of a threat it's going to be of eliminating kind of that, like, education and the teacher's role of everything. I know, like, my theater class, we had a conversation about, like, an AI actress that Hollywood just released. Yeah, it's freaky. It's so
Weird.
It's really
So
strange.
I mean, there's an AI who is not governor.
Yeah.
Continue though.
But it's that kind of thing of like online school has always been a thing, obviously, but there are still real teachers behind that and curriculums made by people, but I think, I don't know, like what's to stop any district from being like, oh, like if we have all this, who's going to need to, we can switch to an online and we can have AI generate curriculums, have them generate work, have them do X, Y, and Z.
I really hope it would never get to that point.
Yes.
Because I think it's so obvious that you need the human to human interaction because there's so many levels to learning outside of just what's 2 + 2. Like, you're learning how to be a human being when you're in school.
I honestly highly doubt that would ever fully happen, just because it's for so many laws and stuff would have to be passed first of all for that to happen, where it's just never going to happen, at least for 100 years probably, honestly. But the thing is, as teachers, and not necessarily, we've been talking about a lot of the bad things that AI is being used for, like cheating and stuff, but it is also just another search engine at the same time. So you can look up how to make a recipe on AI, or explain to me how to do this type of math problem, because you didn't understand it from your teacher, and now you're home and you realize you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
I know personally as a kid, if I would get home and have no idea what I'm doing on homework for an hour at a time, and I would just sit and look at my paper, if I could have used something like AI, it probably would have helped me get through homework faster and made it not as stressful. But at the same time, in school, there's 90% of schools have the power to block websites. So if you're worried about its usage directly in school during the school day, you can block the most popular AI websites. Like ChatGPT, you block the...
I'm sure they already do.
Link.
Yeah, you can delete like the Gemini or like Copilot extensions.
Yeah. In school, I don't necessarily it's a problem, obviously, but there's a lot of ways to prevent it from becoming a bigger problem.
Have you guys... Sorry, this is changing the topic, but have you guys seen your mentor teachers or cooperating teachers use AI in the classrooms at all?
I've had my teachers make tests from it.
Interesting.
Because they'll give it what they want in the tests, and they'll just it'll organize it, and if they don't like it, obviously they change it. But it's good, I talked to I think a professor here actually, and they said they used it for rubrics because they don't want to start from scratch, so it's a good starting point, and then you obviously adjust it to how you want to use it. So it's really just
That's how I'm still kind of new to AI because I was so anti AI for a good amount of the time that it's been out. But I will say from my perspective, I've used AI when coming up with lesson plan ideas, and a lot of the time it'll I'll be give me a lesson plan that aligns to the standard, and then I see the ideas, and then I'm I hate all this, I'm gonna do this instead. And it's definitely interesting because I feel it's good for me to help kickstart generating an idea, because but it's because I don't like what they put out. But I've seen one of my mentor teachers she was writing an IEP, and I think she was trying to put it in the correct language format for it, and so she was using AI for that, but obviously it wasn't writing the IEP from scratch. So I think the teachers themselves too, they aren't being quote unquote lazy with it, but from what I've seen, it's been using it as a tool. I don't know if you guys have seen.
No, I can't say I haven't, at least in not my classroom, but that is very interesting.
I know iReady uses it to design its own curriculum for the students. So the students first do the teacher given lesson on iReady, and then once they're done with that, they go to the lessons that iReady gives them that fits where they are academically, which I think is pretty cool.
Especially because I think it focuses on their weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
It'll review certain questions. I think that's really helpful for reading, especially because sometimes it's small things math. You can go over a math problem however many times, but reading, it's hard to make new questions based on a specific skill that it's struggling with. So when these websites already have been coded to figure out which problems they're getting wrong and automatically spit out new ones right in front of them, so they don't have to go to the teacher, get new problems from a paper in the back of the room. It just really, I think, speeds up the process of them learning the information that they need to learn.
I have two quick. Sorry, not cut you off.
I'm good.
I have 2 quick questions. I just got to ask you guys. Just thinking about it. Let's say hypothetically we could each one of you guys could limit and restrict AI in a certain way, the best way possible in your classroom, would you integrate it?
Like,
Can
we
you
like-
rephrase?
use it,
Like,
or-
if you could restrict it, like in whatever way you think it would be most beneficial to your classroom, where it isn't a distraction or a risk of them cheating, would you integrate it? Would you have like maybe something like Lexia, like not necessarily throughout the entire classroom? That would be kind of implausible. But having like that sort of data analysis throughout the classroom, giving certain stuff like that, even having students use it to an extent.
Personally, I would. I would use it in certain assignments, but then when we're no longer using AI as a tool for the current topic, I would make it like very clear you're not allowed to use it. And then I forgot what the website's called. It's like Go Guardian. I don't know if that's still
Yeah.
the current name.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
check to see what students are on their screen. So then when we move on, and if they're still on or using it for another assignment, you can leave a message to the student or go talk to them about.
Because can't you also like close
You
their
can close
tabs?
the tab, and you can also block. I know the new one that my current school district uses. If you get closed, your computer is like you can't do anything for like 3 minutes.
Oh wow.
So it's like if it keeps happening, you're not gonna get your
Timeout.
work done. Yeah, you're on a timeout
Yeah.
basically.
That
I
is
feel
valid, though.
like, wait, but I feel like that's kind of dumb because you want them to do their work.
No, but so
It
it's like it's
is,
a
but then-
consequence.
But is it a consequence if they don't want to do the work?
If it keeps happening and they don't finish the work, then you can say, oh, you have to do this at recess now.
That's valid.
fair, yeah.
So for middle school to be not middle school, but elementary school, it would be more effective because
They love
every
recess.
kid loves recess.
Yeah.
So
I remember like getting so scared. Like that happened to me once. Like I was in like Spanish class or something, and I was like messing around on my laptop, and then like my teacher closed the tab like remotely off of Go Guardian. I like actually like, oh my god, I was so scared. I didn't know what was going on, but I was like, I'm caught. But like, is this like some higher being?
I would, to answer your question, again, AI hater, I wouldn't let them use AI. I would let them use Google and other search engines and teach them how to find resources based off of that and form their own kind of like database of what's reliable.
I have a quick question for you. What do you think the difference between Google and like ChatGPT is from like a research standpoint?
From research, I mean, well, because when you Google something, you get results that then you like filter through and you have to click into and you have to look. At least with ChatGPT and AI, you ask that question and then it just gives you all the information from those resources pulled. But it's like still not.
I mean, theoretically, you could ask Chat to say, "Hey, could you
Give me a
like
list."
fact check
Yeah,
all
or-
these stuff?"
yeah, you can-
and
you
you
can-
could do that fact checking.
And you can ask it to
You
give
can ask for
resources.
links.
Yeah.
Like you, so
Yeah, I
from
mean, I
that
feel like-
standpoint,
I think
What
it's
we're
still
saying
beneficial.
About AI, people were definitely saying about Google.
Yeah,
and like
X amount of years ago.
Wikipedia.
AI
I
is
think
definitely
it's
way
awesome.
more.
Yeah.
I still think it's beneficial to teach students how I guess to build that own motivation within themselves to go research something, to go like look into it and to have your own eye on everything instead of relying on the quicker way to get there.
Yeah.
I
think
guess is my like main
to answer your
POV.
question, Justin, and to like go off of what Hannah was saying, I would probably integrate using AI within fact checking. What are we looking at?
Oh, I just asked AI how it feels about itself.
Oh God, what did it say?
It says it
I
doesn't have
hate
feelings. It was cat.
But also, like, the more, I don't know, as the ethicalness of it, like, the more we get about what it is doing in order to run it,
Yeah.
I think is something, like, we haven't seen before,
Yeah.
which is also my fear. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I would probably like kind of like going off of what we were talking about in class today, of like, because I was researching oh my God, what was the name of the standards?
ISTE.
ISTE standards, and the one that I was looking at was like basically researching and like determining if the source was reliable or not. And I think I would integrate AI into that, of like having students ask AI questions that I already know AI is going to answer false, and then fact checking that. Kind of like, you know, like what I stumbled across when figuring out my air fryer and stuff. Like, you know, figuring out like, okay, ask AI this question, now see are they correct? Like, is ChatGPT right in answering this? Well, what does Google AI say? What does Microsoft AI say? What does your own research say? I think that would be a good and valuable lesson of kind of just realizing like you're gonna get different answers from each AI, so you better do your own research. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I agree. I think teaching those skills, I do think AI, to answer my own question, I do, and let's wrap it up as well.
Yeah.
To answer my own question, I do think AI could be extremely beneficial to students and as teachers. Me personally, I would love to have a very technologically advanced classroom, as well as integrating AI into my classroom with its own restrictions and parameters. But it does have its downsides, but I think that's like everything. I think within moderation, as well as, as a teacher being able to show them the strong points and weak points of it, you can have a really amazing and engaging classroom, and you could also, on the other side, not. So I do think it is a little up in the air, as well as, how to word it, up in the air, maybe. Lost my train of thought.
As in, like, we don't know where we're heading with it. We don't know the capabilities yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think, in today's climate, we are not teachers yet, but I think when we are, we'll have more defined answers, being in charge of our own classroom and as well having those resources at our fingertips. I do hope that there are better laws and stuff put in place, not just for students, but for AI use as well, because there is a lot of things that could be done with AI, and a lot of good things, and also a lot of bad things. But that's all determined on human usage at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a lot of good talking points. We covered a lot of things. Would someone like to wrap it up?
All right, thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Chalk and Squawk. We appreciate you listening to us yap as always. We'll see you next time.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. The bird's a winner.